It seemed so odd to imagine. As a kid, I would stand in my living room and spin in circles, but I'd get dizzy. Imagining going upside down and doing it, it made no sense. So I wanted to learn power for a really long time, and I don't think that's ever really gone away.
What's up, guys? Today's guest is a professional tricker and movement athlete. Please welcome to the JAMCast, Mr. Jordon Alexander. What's up, man?
What's up?
Good to see you, brother. Welcome, man. So stoked to make this happen.
True. Yeah, it's been a long time coming.
100. And dude, just to clear the air right now, because like I said, everyone knows on these episodes, I always make sure to pronounce people's names right. Off camera, you're actually telling me that your full name is not Jordon Alexander. So what is your actual name for the world?
Yeah, so it's funny that you have Jam, because like Jam was always my thing. My grandpa actually, he started realizing that my initials were Jam. So my whole life I kind of wanted to do a brand called Jam, but it's all right. But yeah, my full name is Jordon Alexander McKechnie. It's a little weird, but
wow. And so have you just dropped the last name for sake of ease within the community, or?
Yeah, not really the community per se, but just like over life, like being in school and stuff and just having teachers say it wrong all the time and spell it wrong. It's a hassle. I would rather just my first name be hard enough and easy last name,
I was just going to say that, man. I'm like, you got dealt a tough card, man, because I can't tell you how many people I feel like say your first name, or they just pronounce it with an emphasis as Jordan, right? But it's actually pronounced differently.
Yeah.
So wild, bro. That's absolutely amazing, man. So with that being said, dude, I obviously have so much I want to talk to you about, but I know one reason that I wanted to connect with you right now is that from what I've seen online, it looks like you're in a recovery phase right now where you have a lot of free time right now. So you can just let people know what's going on and what you're currently recovering from.
Yeah, so I think it's just over time because I didn't do anything per se to my ankle, which is not really the best injuries because when you're just like doing your thing and it just eventually starts hurting. It's like, why am I in pain all the time? Like you try and do the things, but it's too late. The injuries are already crept up on you, But yeah, I did a double back in grass in like 2015 or 2014, I believe, and destroyed my ankle then. Rolled my ankle a few times throughout my life, honestly, the same ankle. Like fourth grade, I was playing wall ball, rolled my ankle. That was the first time that happened. I was just like, what do I do here, Yeah, it's just over time rolling my ankle, and then I think on grass with just maybe improper tech because I'm used to trampoline, and on trampoline you get to slowly ride the landings, but on grass it's like if your ankle's not really prepared for the floor, your ankle's just getting compressed every time into your shin. So I just had a bunch of bone fragments in there. They had to remove those. They played around with my cartilage a little bit. They took some cartilage out, and then they made my bones bleed or something so that it comes back. It's such a weird process.
That is crazy, bro. You know what's funny, man, is that like before I do these episodes, I go into like a total deep dive of everyone's history and social media clips. And that double back clip is one of the first clips on your entire Instagram. And I was going to ask you if you actually sustained a real injury in that clip.
Yeah. Not a fun time. I was actually... that's a funny clip because my friend from New York, which we'll talk about like my whole story, but my friend from New York, he actually came down to Florida when I had first moved there, and we had gone up to a town that was like 45 minutes away from my house, and it's St. Augustine, so there's like a huge fort from way back. They got a nice grass field right there that's got a nice little slope to it, Yeah. So it's giving me the momentum I needed to just run into round off. So I would do round off double back there, and I was getting really close, but I kept overdoing it, so I was just falling back, and I couldn't get that to stop. So I think it was like 2 days after he left, I was just sitting in high school, and all day I was thinking about double back. I was like, gotta do it, And I had just gone home that day expecting that it wouldn't be that hard. I drove to a church that was like right next to my house and just started sending it. And one time, it just did not work the way I wanted. It wasn't fun.
That is insane, bro. That is so crazy. And so, like, and along the lines of what you said, where you didn't have like one specific traumatic injury recently, I remember just seeing like over the course of a few months, you just being like, my ankle's feeling weird. I'm gonna get an MRI, waiting for my insurance to approve my MRI and all this medical bullshit, you know. So final prognosis, like, what's your recovery time? How much PT do you have, and when can you be back on your feet so we can see some tricks?
Yeah, it's kind of like unknown because, well, yeah, I mean, it's known, but like it's kind of unknown in my perspective just because I have the same pain still after the surgery, like just feeling the same pressure point in the front right there. So I personally want to wait longer than they're telling me to, just in case, just see if it actually feels better and, you know, see where I could go from there. But as far as physical therapy goes, I actually started a few weeks ago, and I don't get out of physical therapy until, I believe, somewhere in the middle or end of November. So I still got a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not too bad, man. And that's crazy. As far as that pain is concerned, and I'm only asking this because I feel like a lot of trickers deal with injuries and stuff on their own, so maybe someone could relate to this. Is it something that inhibits you when you're walking day to day, or just mostly when you're training?
Yes, it was really weird because the recent Neo, which was actually, it was really cool. The recent Neo and then Shant Jam was right after that, so I went from back to back, you know?
Totally.
And that was really fun just in general, but my ankle during both of those was just feeling that pinching pain. And it's not when I walk, it's not when I jog, it's just when I do tricks landing on it. Like taking off feels fine, but if I do anything that lands on it, it just doesn't feel good. Like there's it literally feels like a little blade, like a little dagger just goes in about half an inch right in between the fold of my foot and my shin. It just don't feel good.
That's crazy. And that's something you don't want to be thinking about when you're trying to land high level tricks, man. That's the last thing you want on your mind.
And it's funny too, because like I was dealing with that for Neo. So at Neo I kind of tricked. I mostly just hung around and, you know, got to see everybody and everything.
Yeah.
But then at Shant Jam, the floor was not my friend. My friend was the trampoline. The trampoline to the big foam mat. That was my thing at that gathering, or that event, I should say. But it was fun. It was fun. And then I get back, right? So I'm doing a bunch of hard double flips off the trampoline onto the soft mat. And I'm just thinking, on floor, before I get this surgery, I only got 2 weeks. But on floor, I gotta do a double Nike. Like, I really, really need to do it. And I think it was 3 days before my surgery, I pulled up to session, and I was just in the mindset, this is happening. I have to do it. Even if I have to push it a little bit, I'm gonna do it. And that felt good just to accomplish that, just with the ankle, you know?
Yeah, just all things considered, you're got a new trick, and yeah, now I'm good. Dude, that is crazy, bro. Well, we're sending you speedy wishes, bro. Also selfishly, because I can't wait to see you move again. But, it's also just good that you actually are taking the time to properly address it. I feel like when we're younger, we kind of avoid taking care of our injuries in the proper sense, and we just kind of push them aside. So it's good to see.
Yeah, that's actually another thing too, because before the surgery for this, or before my ankle was really bothering me, when I first moved out to Colorado, I had a hip problem, a back problem, a wrist problem. Everything was just stacking up, and my back one took a long time for me to recover from, and it was just annoying because it's my back, you know. That's scary, but
and all things
careful.
And all things considered, man, I only say that because the list you just named of all the injuries. Correct me if I'm wrong. Are you still 22 or 23?
I'm about to turn 23, which I'm going to have a whole new look when I'm 23. Just fun fact to that.
Okay. Yeah, that's crazy, man. That, at such a young age, you've already put yourself through the ringer. So with that being said, how long have you officially been training at this point in your life?
Honestly, hard to say because, hard to say. I've had a trampoline since about preschool.
Oh,
Yeah, I've been doing flips on trampoline for a long time. And then I've been doing martial arts since about that time as well.
What traditional martial arts did you study?
I went to a place called Gono Sen, but it was just open hand, self-defense type of stuff.
Okay. Did you guys have any elements of kicks? And I only ask that because when you execute your kicks, you point your toes, you have chambers and re-chambers, so.
Yeah, they actually, a tornado kick in there, even a spin hook was whoa, that's a weird spinning back kick. What are you doing? You know, they were what is this?
Okay.
Yeah, they loved it. But through time, I did different dojos. So I went to that one first, and then I think as a kid, I wanted change or something. So I wanted a different school. We went to a MMA place, and then I did Taekwondo, and then I went back to that original school because they just taught me a very traditional mindset that seemed to work very well in other schools. And other schools that I went to, they were like, you should put him back in that school. Like, that seems to be a good school.
That's hilarious. Other schools are like, take him back.
Yeah, go get him back.
That's crazy, bro. And so what do you think was your, obviously you've been flipping on trampolines and stuff like that. What was your first introduction to tricking, or where did you first see it, I guess, is a better question.
Yeah, like probably 4th grade, 5th grade, maybe, around that time period. My friend Tom, which was actually a friend from preschool. Yeah, so I'll take it back. I'll take it even further back. Give it a foreshadowing, you know? Back in preschool, so my mom gets me a trampoline, and then I really feel like they got me a trampoline and put me in martial arts around that time just because I was such a chaotic kid. I was just running around the living room listening to Godsmack and just, I don't know, going rampant, you know?
Yeah.
So they got me a trampoline, they put me in martial arts. They're assuming that that's going to get my energy out, and then the martial arts will calm me down a little bit. So they thought it was going to be a good balance, you know? But as I'm a kid, I'm looking up to soldiers and stuff like G.I. Joe. I want to be a soldier when I grow up. And then you're giving me this playground where I'm surrounded by net, but truly outside. Like I could feel the outdoors, but run around with all my toys and just flop on this trampoline and do whatever I want. That's all my energy coming out. But then you send me to a school to learn how to be a soldier, but it's a samurai, which is way cooler. So as a kid, I'm like, that's the thing. Like, I'm going to this, I'm being a ninja.
Totally.
So after a while, just like learning flips on trampoline, because my mom actually taught me a front flip. I remember one of my friends from preschool, I remember sitting on the trampoline with my mom right in front of both of us, and she was teaching us knee front flip. And at that time, it was so wild that I could go over my head and not know what was happening. Totally. You know? It's like, what? So we're just having fun learning like knee front flip. That's the only direction we knew we could go. Yeah. So I was just messing around with that for years. And then he ended up moving to Hawaii. So he's out there and he doesn't have a trampoline. So all the flips that he learned with me and my mom, he can't really practice anymore, is what I thought at the time. Yeah. I think he's going to come back eventually and I'm still going to be able to do front flip. He's not going to be able to do much, and like I'll have to teach him again. And honestly, he comes back and he does a front flip in my grass.
On the floor.
Like, you know, I'm like, I got to be better than that. Like, what's up with this? Yeah. Come on. Like, I got the trampoline. So that gave me like a little competitive edge to that.
Okay.
I started learning side flip, front flip, back flip, stuff like that. The basics on trampoline. And in 1st grade, I would just toss standing front flip because I didn't understand how to run into it. Like, he understood the running.
The momentum, yeah.
Yeah, I'm on trampoline. I don't need to run, you know? So anything that I learned on trampoline, I was just putting it straight to ground. I didn't even think about, like, a new computing system. Yeah. You know, I gotta run and block and all these things. So I eventually end up learning the basics to that. And then in middle school, I did a backflip during recess. And then this kid just comes over and he does a standing backflip. And I'm like, whoa. What's going on? Yeah. You know, like, who are you? Yeah. Be my friend, you know? And it turns out to be a kid that was from the same preschool as me and my friend that moved to Hawaii. Crazy. So we all happened to learn flips, even though we weren't really staying in touch ever.
Yeah.
And that was the tightest thing. Because now my friend from back then is my friend again, somehow comes back like a long lost sibling, and we're both doing the same things. So we start teaching each other, and because I'm martial artsy, like I saw the hyper stuff first. Like I saw the hyper tricking, like martial arts tricking.
Yes. Yeah.
And for my brain at the time, not to say I didn't understand it, but I saw it in a weird light. Like I saw my trampoline flips, like flips and acrobatics as one thing. Like that's my self-expression. I'm doing whatever I want. It's freedom. And then I saw the martial arts strict traditional way of existence, you know? So I saw the hyper thing and was a little confused. I didn't really vibe with it. Like I was like, it's all right, you know? And I started doing free running at that time because I saw that as tricking. I thought that was the only way you could trick. So Tom ends up joining me. He's the kid from middle school that did the backflip.
Okay.
And he starts doing free running with me because I'm doing free running. So, we're just doing whatever each other do.
Yeah, 100.
And I saw a video of Anish Sherfa. And when I saw Anish Sherfa, I was like, he looks like a martial artist that's doing the same thing that I do on trampoline. He looks like he's using the aggression and like the state of martial arts, but doing free movement all the time. It was more blended, I think.
Do you remember what video was specifically you saw, or was it just like a random clip online?
I remember seeing the one of it was him, and I think it might have been Danny Graham. They were fighting in a backyard.
That's my backyard. That's my backyard of my house, bro.
Yo, what?
Yes.
That's actually so tight. That's so cool.
Dude, you want to hear something even crazier than that? At that party, there's a bunch of like people partying in the backyard, right? At that party, Anish met the wife of his 2 children right now. Craziest story of all time, man. Yeah.
That's
absolutely
tight. We
crazy.
gotta talk about that.
Yeah, right? Life is a trip, bro. Life is such a trip.
True.
So that's the intro. That's the thing that you saw. So you saw like a fight scene with some mini tricks in it.
Yeah, like I saw that fight scene, and then I know the Lost Cinema Lights sampler that he did in the parking lot that shows like Kyle Cordova in it and everything. I didn't know who they were, but I knew Anish Sherfa. And now it's cool to know who they are and everything. But I remember watching that, and I was like, that's the thing. When he comes into frame, does the Webster, and then walks out of frame, I was like, that.
Points at the camera?
Yeah.
Oh, man, that is so dope to see, bro. It's so cool to hear that that's what inspired you, because I was here at those times. My friends were shooting those videos. My friends are in those videos, and they were inspiring me. So, like, I can't even imagine what it was like for someone that's never seen this movement before in their life,
It was wild, to say the least.
So crazy, bro. So did that inspire you to immediately start tricking or to seek out what it was you were seeing, or what did you do at that point?
It did a little bit, because I remember watching Anish Sherfa, and then the Three Amigos were the thing. So I was like watching the Three Amigos, and they got me into it. And then watching Jeremy's, I swear it was double aerial, but tucked or something.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Do you remember that?
Yeah. It may have been. He used to do a bunch of stuff. Like he used to try to do TD Ray swing double Arabian back in the days, things like that, and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy, especially for the time. That's wild.
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I remember seeing that, and then I'm thinking that tricking's like cooler. Like there's different filters to it that I could fit in. I could find my way. Okay. And my friend Tom, he says that Guthrie is the best tricker. He openly says it to me one night, and I'm like, who's this guy? Like, I haven't even heard of him. I'm doing my research, like I should know who he is. So I end up watching. I don't remember what video it is, but it's right before the unrestricted promo that he made way back. And we watched that sampler together, and I was like, he's doing what I want to be doing. Wow. I was like, all right, Anish is doing the martial arts, but if I can find a way of just doing the tramp stuff that I do, the freedom, and then throw it out there, I'd rather do that. Like, that seems more fun, like more freeing, for sure.
Totally.
So watching him, I was like, maybe he is the best. Like, maybe he's doing his own little branch over here that I should jump on. So I saw his unrestricted promo, and then I just begged my parents for so long, probably a few days, like, hey, can I please go to this? Like, it's just in South Carolina or North Carolina. Can I please, like, here's all the trickers. I'm showing my dad Guthrie, and to this day, he knows Guthrie. Actually, that event in general is such a good story. But, yeah, that's, like, how I found out. And then going to that gathering, I was like, yeah, this is the thing. This is what I want.
So you threw yourself into an actual tricking gathering, not even being a tricker yet.
Yeah. And at the time, granted, I could... Because, like, at the time, I could do a cart double full and probably combo it, probably do, like, a cart Arabian, cart double full or something like that.
Okay.
And right before the gathering, I was actually just in my basement with my friends, and I jokingly tried to jump into a push-up position because we used to do, like, the fall thing in martial arts where it's like, I can catch myself, I'm strong, So I tried to jump and do that, and I broke the connection point from my finger to my wrist. So this little guy right here was just messed up.
No way.
So I couldn't even put my hand down. I had a cast on. I'm like doing one hand cartwheel, double full in a battle. And I'm like, what is a battle? What am I doing?
No way. That is crazy, dog. I can't believe that you went to a gathering like that. And secondly, that your parents allowed you to. That's super dope that they're supportive of it,
Yeah, I'm super glad they've supported it because, truly without them supporting it, I have no idea where I'd be. When we moved to Florida, my biggest thing was I need a yard. I'm not even picking the house. It's not my thing. I'm your kid, and I'm like, we need a yard. The yard needs to be there, and they helped me out. They got me a good yard, an iconic yard.
This is the yard that we see in all the clips before you made your move over to the West Coast, right? All those iconic grass clips training alone, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
No way. So yeah, with that being said, dog, off the back end of going to unrestricted, were you hooked immediately after meeting all these trickers, and did you establish relationships and go home and go in the lab, or what effect did that have upon your career?
Honestly, Adam Davenport, shout out mans. So I remember the unrestricted that I happened to go to was one of the coolest events I still to this day have been to. Mm-hmm. It was in a theater. So there's a dressing room, I think 3 stories up, and all the trickers are hanging out in this dressing room with mirrors and seats, and it's a real dressing room for a theater thing. And then you walk down the stairs and you go on through the side of the wings for the theater, and people could pay to watch you in this theater, and the battles are on a spring floor on a stage. This is the coolest thing, you know? That, in my mind at that time, was the perfect blend of everything I ever wanted to experience. And I remember walking into that dressing room with my dad because I was too young, and he came with me, and it was a good time because my dad was there for sure. It was the perfect introduction for my parents to see as well. Because when we walked into that dressing room, Adam Davenport comes over and he introduces himself to me and my father. And I didn't even know Adam Davenport. I was just like, hello.
Yeah, what's up, man? Yeah.
And he's got some charisma. Since day one, man's charismatic.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. So, good interactions with everybody. Michael Guthrie taught me how to do my first double cork then. I don't think I landed it, but I got really close. I was doing it from scoot, and I was, doing the Scott Skeleton step setup for it.
Step. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that is crazy, bro. Wow, that's absolutely insane. And so, off the back end of that, and leading into the segue of you training solo in Florida, how many hours a week were you putting in training, and were they all solo sessions, or did you start to become part of a larger community?
In Florida?
Yeah, I guess off the back end of unrestricted and then heading into your training in Florida. Yeah. How many hours a day were you training? And do you always train alone like we see in your videos?
Yeah. After unrestricted, I think I went to one more gathering on my way to Florida. I think it was New Heights 2014.
Okay.
And then when I got to my high school in Florida, I immediately started dance because Party Rock Anthem was a good inspiration of that. Seeing the Quest crew, seeing the suicide drop on the concrete, that made me really blend in everything that I thought was an inspiration to me at the time. It took the traditionalism of martial arts out of my trampoline chaotic fun, and then I found a way of doing that through Michael Guthrie, but then also seeing dancers like Quest crew do their own version where it's more theatrical. It was finding that balance for me.
Yeah, 100.
So I had gone to dance for high school, done that, really focused on that, and then martial arts went to the back burner for a while because I realized when I was around that age, around freshman year, I realized that I'm gonna be old. I'm gonna want to be strong when I'm old, when my body is a little weaker than it is right now. So when I'm at that age, I would like to be very strong and more martial than I am right now. I think right now I'm in the age of being very elastic still, even though I just got surgery, but I'm still in that age. So totally. I want to look more noodly when I move while I can is all,
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, bro. And so how many hours a day do you normally train, or did you train back then?
Yeah, I would train every day. It was just a thing that I loved doing. I would just wake up and I would do whatever I needed to do that day. I'd go on the trampoline. Trampoline was definitely every day. And then after the trampoline, it's if I'm feeling good, I'll do some stuff. And that's actually what led me into doing less martial arts tricking and more of like cart heli, hand plant hook, swing things. And, you know, it took me into a new branch of finding transitions in between things and using different moves as a transition in between things. So I could do a cheat 9 and then I could end it with a double cork. Like that's a typical combo. But in between that, I could do a cart heli that's supposed to get me into the hook kick for the double cork, you know?
100%. Yeah, I've always been curious about that because obviously you and I just off the record, like, you know, pre-JAMCast and all this, I've always just sent you comments about, dude, I love the way that you formulate combos. I love the irregularities, the way that you're not able to guess what you're going to do next transition-wise. So I was always curious, like, what it was that stemmed that upon you. I think one thing that makes you super unique, though, is that there are a lot of guys that are style-based trickers with transitions, but they're not able to uphold the power side, whereas you do all the intricate transitions and, you know, the rolly stuff that people say, but then you can go throw down a triple and then it's like no one can say anything about that, you know what I'm saying? So how are you able to find a balance between power and style? Is it something you consciously focused on, or is power so easy for you it allowed you to learn style?
I don't know, it's kind of a blend. I think it's just the process of osmosis. Like I saw people doing flips and I thought that would be really fun, and the first person I saw who did a flip happened to be my mom. So I'm like, that would be fun. If my mom thinks it's fun, I'll do it. So flips always seemed really fun, and then watching twists, like watching the first triple cork and everything, I could only imagine running into a scoot, but really slowly, but then also running into a J-step on a karate mat and doing that. It seemed so odd to imagine. As a kid, I would stand in my living room and spin in circles, but I'd get dizzy. You know, imagining going upside down and doing it made no sense. So I wanted to learn power for a really long time, and I don't think that's ever really gone away. But just as much as I saw that as an inspiration, through time I would watch people, and they would do weird things, like, I don't know, just weird things. I'd watch them do stuff, and it just didn't seem to fit, like Mogwai, people like that, and Rasmus Ott, definitely. Yeah, I would just see people do things, and it seemed like it was a mistake sometimes. Like my dad even, like when I started watching Guthrie, the reason my dad thought Guthrie was so good was because he said that Guthrie could save himself from anything.
Wow.
And eventually I started noticing that. Like I started noticing the way he would trick. It was like, even if he stumbled a tiny bit, the combo worked. Yeah. Everything worked. And if he had to save himself with like a Webster or like something, which he's that guy. There's a part in the sampler that just popped into my brain. He does like a box cutter and he spins in a circle, does a Webster and says clutch. Yeah. I'm sure people will know what I'm talking about, but there's that part, you know? Yeah. I would see that and I was like, that's the coolest part, when I could watch somebody do something that was intentional, and then there's a part that doesn't look intentional, but in that moment where he's going to save himself with the Webster, he knows he wants to do the Webster. Yeah. He knows he needs to do the Webster to finish this thing, you know? Yeah. So it gives me that same feeling of like, I could do a cheat 9 hook cartwheel and I need to do that to do the double full, but I could also do cheat 9 hook, aerial, misleg GMS cartwheel, and still need that to do, it could be anything. It could just be something in between that it doesn't look as expected for the next thing, but it is needed in that moment. Everything's needed, a save or creativity, you know, like whatever it is. Yeah,
what you're talking about, especially with Guthrie being able to save stuff on the fly, I've been reading a lot of like sports psychology books and learning about other things, and it's almost like the flow state that they talk about, which is like you're living in such a present state and such an acute awareness of what's happening right now and right then that you're able to make those last second adjustments. You know, that's why those pro baseball players are able to make a microsecond change and hit a baseball when they see the seam go a certain way. It's the same thing in tricking though, right? Like if you're truly living presently, you can totally like make an adaptation at any single time in your combos. So
Definitely. And that was a thing from trampoline too, because I think that's actually a big stem as well of like why I liked the unexpected movement. Yeah. Because on trampoline, I would mess around and I'd play with my parents and my friends. Like I'd do the dive and then you slowly flip over so that it looks like you're about to hit your head and just crunch. You know, scare people, spook them a little bit. But I used to because when I was a kid in preschool and stuff, and I'm flopping around on the trampoline, playing with my action figures and, doing the whole thing, as I would jump up in the air and like have one guy strike the other, I'm just going to jump up and also fall sideways onto my side because that's cooler.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So I'm going to do that. So eventually I just started learning that I could fall on a trampoline in any position, like on my back, my side, my stomach, and it's not going to hurt. So I would flop around like that. I'd do half a backflip to my back, go to my stomach, just do a bunch of like back-to-back maneuvers that don't encounter my feet or hands ever. And it's just constantly figuring out something to do while I'm in the air. So it gave me this unexpected movement pattern. Totally. And my mom, she used to love when she would watch me do that. She used to think that was the funniest stuff.
That's wild, bro. So this question is going to kind of lead into off the back end of that, where you obviously are talking about how you just allow yourself to move freely and stuff like that. When it comes to your combo formulation, a lot of people take moves that are pre-existing within the vocabulary of tricking and they piece them together. In your combos, there are a lot of moves and elements that aren't exactly from our sport, traditionally speaking. So where do you find these moves to integrate, and where do you find your inspiration for them, to find these non-traditional tricking moves and transitions?
Yeah. Because it's a hard question, but
yeah, I can imagine, bro. And if it was an easy one, more people would do it,
True. Yeah, because I don't know. I really just watch every movement. I feel like I'll watch cheerleaders. It's not my favorite thing to watch a cheerleading performance in comparison to watching a tricking session, but I'll watch every type of movement. When I really started figuring out different movements and figuring out what I wanted, like even a recent thing like the cork zero and full zero. Yeah. I started figuring that out on trampoline the second I saw it the first time, or the second I saw somebody playing around with it. I was like, what is this and why doesn't anybody do this? Yeah. And it technically came from free running. Yep. But then there's like cart heli, reverso, and those came from capoeira. Mm-hmm. There's flare and windmill, those came from breakdancing, but those are all things that I've done for years, and it's just because I watched other people do it in somewhere else, and I'm like, why couldn't I do that?
100%. Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, man. I just have always been fascinated by the combo choice. I think one of the ones that really, to me, is super wild, and I'm sure other people don't appreciate it within tricking, but you had done like a circus competition, and you did like one of your longest combos ever, which was so many non-traditional flip moves. And most people probably were like, what the hell is he doing rolling around on the grass? I personally was like, dog, he just did a combo with maybe a couple of flips, but it was like 40 seconds long, Yeah,
that was actually so fun to think of, because I actually thought of that combo that day when we were filming. Okay. I was out in the yard and I did like 3 or 4 moves, and I was like, okay, so what can I do from this one? I guess it'll be this. And then, okay, there's another 4. I guess I could just keep going. I was gonna do a combo where it's like a few moves and then I do kind of some dancey thing, and then that gives me a second to breathe. But I eventually just found myself with a combo that lasted about a minute, because that was the requirement.
Totally.
So it's like, if I could just do this and it's kind of good, like if it's at least decent, then that's the longest combo I've ever done. And wow, it's not really tricking. So that's cool.
Totally, bro. All right. And so this may be a tough question. There's going to be a couple. Like, in addition to all the moves you do that are, unique transitions and stuff, you've also landed stuff that's not regular, such as, like B-twist, swing, rodeo, cork grab. You've also done, the clockwork trick and stuff like that. Is there one that you are the most proud of, or is there one that was like the most rewarding to accomplish landing, if that makes sense?
That's good.
Yes, bro. I'm glad.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Because as far as it goes in the wonky world,
yes,
it's hard to say, because it's hard to say like which is really wonky, because I was actually just having a conversation with somebody the other day about this, but it's hard to say, because like the things like triple cork and stuff were considered the power, but now we have a bunch of listed names in the quad cork, so it's reaching that quad cork range. So I feel like everything, just like power, will have a lot of people eventually grab onto it, and everything becomes normalized. So I feel like the wonky stuff will always naturally become the normal stuff. Okay. So as far as I As far as the wonky stuff, like the list that I can think of the things I did, it's hard because I know some of the wonky stuff I would say is like, or some of the contenders for the list may not be as wonky anymore because people have started doing them.
Yeah.
But honestly, the murder stuff feels crazy. When you do B-twist, rodeo, swing, cork, and you never let go of your foot even after you land the cork, it's like, what just happened?
Totally, dog.
There's no way I did that.
Okay, hell yeah. And so, along the lines of that too, I know even dating back to some of your early clips, I've always been curious about this. What level can you trick on your dark side? Because in your early combo clips, there's a lot of switching between switch stances and going one way and then directionally changing kicking. I also know when you're trying to avoid your injury and training on your one ankle, you're attempting like cork swing through corks on the other leg. So what level of ambi tricking can you achieve?
I am actually, that's funny you say that because also another thing we were talking about the other day. My dark side is actually oddly good. I don't understand how. I really like watching people and talking to people like Mackenzie Emery and other people that they learn tricks on one side and then they end up learning tricks on the other, and the other side happens to be way better.
Yeah.
So it's like, I guess I messed up, you know?
Yeah, started on the wrong side almost, yeah.
Yeah, because I almost feel like that. Like there was a part in my existence where I felt more natural to twist to my left, but the second I started twisting to my right, everything that I knew about a flip at that point clicked in. All the muscle awareness I needed to do everything that would make it fit into the reality I wanted it to be in, everything would just make sense. It was really odd. And even to this day, like I could easily do a dark side double full swing double cork on trampoline and then do it the same way opposite. Like I can mirror things very well. Dark side corks are good on trampoline. Dark side fulls are good. Variations still mess with me just because it's a pausing point in the middle of it, and I just know the momentum and the muscle engagement. Yeah. So if I keep the momentum going but still engage my muscles to do full D-leg, it'll flip over too much and I'll fall over, you know?
Crazy. That is crazy. Yeah, I'm always impressed with people that can trick on a decently, I'd say medium to high level on their dark side as well, because there are a lot of people that are able to make that switch early on. You know, like one of the famous ones is Bailey Payne. Bailey used to twist to the right. He did like full snap and got lost at gathering and totally like face planted. And after that day, he literally transitioned to spinning left. And now like he does triples on the left. All his corks are on the left. So, but to be fair, yeah, that's what's crazy about Bailey. Bailey used to twist all the way to the right. And so I think he's actually done quad full on flat, right and left. But now he just only twists to the left. But he made a conscious decision to switch. But he doesn't have the rest of his moves still at like, you know, a high level on the dark side. So do you train yours purposely on the dark side, or do you think you just have a understanding of the skill and that's why?
Yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't train on that side unless I have to. Like now I'll probably start doing dark side corks, but I really don't do it unless I'm tired and I'm on the trampoline and I'm like, what can I do that's not that hard?
Crazy. Okay, I would have never guessed, man. That's amazing, dog. And so along the lines of obviously everything that's happened in your life and everything you've contributed to the sport, right now, if I'm not mistaken, after Florida, is that when you made the transition from Florida to Colorado, or when did you make that move over to the Colorado tricking community?
Yeah, so after high school, about a couple years after high school, I had done some college, and eventually I came over here with one of my friends from Florida.
Okay.
It was just, I don't think it was for a gathering. I think we just came to like see his family that happened to live out here.
Okay.
And I heard about Trick Different. I've been friends with Adem for a really long time.
Okay.
So I've known him through martial arts. I met him at one of the U.S. Opens way back because I actually used to do XMA. That's another thing. And yeah, I met him at one of the U.S. Opens. It was like me, him, Alan Davies. We were all just hanging out. And then when I happened to be in Colorado, he lived here. So I was like, we should hang out. We should chill. Did that. And then I happened to go to Cats one day, which if you don't know that place, that's where Levi does some crazy stuff. That's where Aiden Scoot is always. So that's that gym. So I went to that gym, saw the tricking community a tiny bit, and was like, this is the spot. Like, this is where I want to be.
Crazy, man. That is so crazy. And so with that being said, I think you recently just moved into a new house, greenhouse, or how's that pronounced, and who's a part of that house?
Yeah. So I actually just came from Torque House, and now I'm living in the greenhouse, which it was actually called the greenhouse before I lived here. We had Stephen French living here for a little bit, and then when he moved out, I moved in. So currently it is me, Ethan Turner, Quentin Saul, and did I say Andrew Court?
Yeah.
Andrew Court.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're all just hanging out in here. Oh, and Ryan, but we're all hanging out in here. So it's a group of trickers, and honestly, the house is tight. I live in the basement. I got a whole floor to myself. I also have a cat now, which is crazy because I've never had a cat in my life.
Wow.
But it's just a whole new chapter. And honestly, with all of us in here, like Andrew and Ethan and I especially, we realized that we could do something about it. So we're trying to do something about it eventually. We're just really stocking up content and saving our energy for the future.
Okay, that is super dope, man. And so I got to ask, man, because obviously there's been a shift within the American tricking community. At one point, San Jose, California was like the mecca of tricking. Then I would say at a little point when Anise and them were in their heyday, LA started to be a place where everyone flocked to. Now, hands down, like, let's be honest, Colorado has probably one of the biggest tricking communities in the United States, if not the world. So I just want to know, though, from someone like yourself that obviously lives with these guys and is in all the sessions and is a high-level athlete, is there an immense sense of competition at these sessions, or is it more of like a gathering vibe where everyone's like super supportive at every session? You know?
Yeah. Me personally, coming from no community, being in a yard, I came into this community knowing the dance community, knowing how breakdancers interact with each other and how even girl and guy dancers will interact with each other. The sex doesn't really matter when it comes to the dance community. You're all the same. And as much as there's a sense of competition when I did dance competitively, there's that sense, but there's a sense of strong community connection when you're in the community of dance, I feel like. And when I came here, I expected that same thing, but got a different answer. I realized that the community, and I've learned about the community now for a little bit, and I've learned about the tribe days and what happened with tribe and all that, and watching all that, seeing it in my head or whatever, but having people tell me about it and understanding it as a true chapter that happened, and understandably so. I understand why the community was detached when I came here, but okay. I do sense sometimes a sense of competitivism. I don't know if that's even a word, said it though, but I sense that sometimes at sessions for sure. There's points where us as a community will feel each other's vibes, and we talk about it, or some of us don't talk about it, but eventually it gets brought up and it's solved. But I do think there is some sense of competitive aspects to it, but I really think that it's out of love. I really think that everyone here wants to see each other grow, as much as we're different and as much as every human's different. I do feel a sense of love from everybody regardless. It's similar to being in school. It's similar to being in high school or college. You feel that same vibe of everyone may not want to be here or wants to be here, and they love what they do as their own person, and they have to deal with things they don't want to do. So there's going to be every individual perspective, and there's going to be cliques, but at the end of the day, everyone's still there with each other,
Super dope. Yeah. I'm just curious to ask that, not to cause controversy or chaos at all, but like, it's just something that just happens when you get that many high level athletes together. And let's just generalize even more. When you get that many male egos in one room together, you never know what can happen. You know what I'm saying? I've seen some interesting sessions happen at my gyms back in the days, where it's just like friendly competition, which definitely helps people get better. So I was just curious the state of Colorado,
Yeah, I think it's going in a better place constantly. I see it constantly growing back to where it should be.
Okay. So I got a question for you, for someone that has lived in Florida, obviously, which is an ocean city and stuff like that. Do you see a difference with the elevation training, and do you see an advantage from when you're training in CO and then you go to somewhere like California?
Absolutely. When I first moved out here and I was on the trampoline, it was crazy. Like, I would be on the trampoline for 20 minutes maybe, and I'm not breathing. I'm just, like, everything's a struggle. It felt like like my lungs were finally a water balloon. For the first time ever, it was like a water balloon material. Nothing was going through that rubber, you know? It felt so odd. And even sometimes, like, training at sessions, like I actually used to donate plasma a while ago. Shout out Will Cowden. He told me to do that for money.
Yes.
But
that's the way a lot of guys make money.
Shout out Will. Yeah. Because I just figured it'd be a good idea. You know, just whatever. Help some people out, make some money. Yeah, I'm a healthy guy, so it's like, dang it. So I started doing that, and one of my first triple corks after my first triple cork, which was at Dubsurd, the first Dubsurd, I did my first one there, which was crazy because bring it back to the conversation we were having a little bit before. Guthrie taught me my first double cork at my first gathing. And then the first gathering I'm a guest at, I land my first triple cork right in front of Guthrie. And it's Guthrie's gathering. So that felt good. But I donated plasma, and then I had gone to a session, and just because, like, I gave blood and probably didn't drink enough that day and elevation, when I was at that session, I did a triple cork, and after I landed, I felt like I was dreaming. Like, I landed and nothing in reality was really there. It was like this black overlay over everything, and I was looking at the camera like, I did that, but where am I again? Like, it was so odd.
Bro, I remember the first time I drank a beer in Denver, and I was like, whoa, it's hitting different.
You gotta be careful out here.
Yeah, 100, bro. I can only imagine, dude. That's super dope. And so one of the other things I want to talk to you about is, obviously, in addition to your combo formulation and your unique style, one thing that has always stood out to me is the editing within your samplers. You've always had, different music choices, adding different effects and visual elements and stuff like that. So what's the inspiration behind the edits that you put together? And probably going to be an impossible question. Is there one that is your favorite?
As far as music goes for the edits, I found that the music finds me. Okay. I don't find it. Okay. I really think that life works in a way of working with each other. The world works with me as I work with it. So just as my tricking, the more time I spend in it, the better I'm going to become. The more time I edit, the better I'm going to be at editing. But I think there's a sense of the external. Like, I'm not only going to become better at editing, but because I'm better at editing and I'm more a part of it, I find that music tends to come to me easier for editing. I find that the things that I need for that passion tend to come to me a little easier than they did before. Okay. Just like in tricking, like if I'm trying to move out to Colorado for tricking, it's not going to be easy, but it somehow was easy. If I'm trying to go to Japan for tricking, it shouldn't be easy, but it was easy. There's those things that come to you. So I feel like for the music, that comes to me. And as far as like where the edits go with my visual effects and things like that, or even some samplers, my biggest thing now with a lot of my private samplers, I have a lot of unlisted samplers on YouTube, but with a lot of those, a lot of them have a underlying story to them. And unless you know me personally, you won't know the story. Okay. There's songs that tell a big story to it, and there's little things like just the specific session I am at in a clip while somebody's saying something on the song. It is a hidden message of like, this session, this gym specifically is saying exactly what is needed to finish the sentence of the artist.
Okay. Okay.
So there's those types of things just from when I'm older, but as far as my favorite one goes, it's always the newest.
That's what's gonna. Yeah, that's what's funny is like artists always say it's their newest one, and then fans are like, we like the greatest hits,
Yeah, because my newest one, like I was saying with the story thing, because my biggest thing is when I watch a sampler, if I can't find the soul in the person that's making the art, I don't really see it as an art. I see it as as just I see it as much as I see a brick wall. Somebody made that wall. Somebody spent their time doing it, but it's just an existence. It is not much of a presence.
Mm-hmm.
So when I watch samplers and it's just soulless, I suppose, even though it still has a soul of its own, not to downgrade it, but when I watch those, I want to know the person more. I almost feel like my comment on that video will make them comment back, and then I'll have a conversation with them so I get to know them more. It's almost a sense of I need to reach out more so that I can get more from that person that I respect and want to know.
Mm-hmm.
So as I grow and start doing more samplers and video stuff, I realize that is what is important for me in my art pursuit. Like even with the greenhouse, I wanted to do a video which everyone who's watching this will eventually see it. But
okay.
It's a video that it's just it's a funny skit and a journal at the same time. It's a way of going through everyone's history and taking all their old sampler clips and Instagram posts and having them talk about the experiences they had at those points in life that weren't tricking. Things that affected their tricking through that time. And it'll just be a sampler for each person that's probably 7-10 minutes long, and it takes you through their entire journey thus far. And I feel like that'll be one of the coolest samplers to watch, because it's like Nick Fry's samplers, where it takes you all the way back and you're like, that's the kid that became this guy.
100. I had it's really funny you say this. The last few guests I've had on here on episodes that haven't come out yet, because obviously I stockpile these, but I had talked with Ashley Adams. I talked to even a parkour friend of mine on his episode today, and we just kind of related to the same thing, which is we're inundated with so much content these days, and the samplers these days have moves that we never landed before. But when I watched samplers from 10 years ago, within like 10 seconds, I could tell who that kid was, and I could tell his style. I could tell the type of music he messed with. You could watch a Scott Skelton sampler and you just knew kind of his personality before you even saw the tricks thrown. And
exactly.
That's missing, that's one thing that hasn't been replicated in recent years.
That's the thing. Like everyone knows Rasmus Zott not only for his tricks, but the videos that he made. Yeah. And that's what I want to be. I want to be... If you know Pierre, we watched Pierre's video at your house actually during Jam.
We did.
If you watch his videos, it shows you him. It shows you his true personality in a sense. And I want to be that. As far as everything that's happening in my life right now with surgery and me moving and all that going on, all the chaos or whatever, like we were saying before, my newest one will always be my favorite, it seems, because I'm making one now and I don't have a single trick in it, but the 3 songs that are in it speak volumes and a half. And I have many skits throughout it already filmed that tell entire personal stories about my love and my disconnections with love from individuals and my recovery process with my injury. A true rebirth of the insides and outsides.
Crazy, man. Crazy. Well, I'm super stoked to see them, Doug. Like I said, I've always been a fan of them. And along the lines of samplers, and I don't mean to put undue pressure on you, so you don't have to answer this. It's a question I kind of ask a lot of people. But for example, 22 Winters, which was your sampler you put out when you were age 22, you talked about how you always wanted to dub on your 22nd birthday like everyone else before you. Obviously, now you're venturing into year 23, so there's 2-3, but I just want to know in general, is there anything without taking injuries into account, is there any moves that you are still chasing on your bucket list of tricks?
Yeah, so double Nike and quad full, I've done those 2 now already, but they were on the list, and I just want them better. Because when the clip comes out of my double Nike, which will take a minute because I like to do that, but when my double Nike will come out, you'll notice that if you watch it frame by frame, I am completely blind. I tend to wear big shirts. I'm that guy.
You do.
I'm bringing it back to early 2000s parkour. Yes. So I'm running around with a fat shirt on, and I run into a round off, a really powerful round off to a double flip that I'm looking sideways. There's nothing holding my shirt down. So this big shirt goes completely over my head, and you could see the shape of my head in the shirt. and I do a double flip, land, and it comes down after I land.
No way.
So I would just like to do that again so that I could be aware of what's happening. And then for the quad full, I just did that the night before I got surgery. So I just wanted to do it to like make myself feel strong. Totally. So I'm going to do that again. But then full D-leg, I really want to do Ironman double back. So instead of full in, back out, it's a spin up and then double back. Yeah. That'd be fun.
Hell yes. Okay. I'm looking forward to it, Doug. Super, super cool. And so, like, we've obviously talked about all the people that you were able to be inspired by in person, meeting Mike from early on in your tricking career, Adam Davenport and stuff like that. Is there anyone that you still currently watch these days, whether that's for inspiration or whether that's just to see what's out there in the community? I would just like to see who the people that everyone else is watching, who they're watching.
Yeah, I don't know, because I personally... I feel like as time's gone on, as I went from being in Florida and being isolated and being the only tricker around and wanting to reach out to the outside so that I had people that were like me and all that, and then moving to Colorado and being a part of a community. I'm not just in it, I am a part of it. And that is it's a much different feeling. I realize that when it comes to social media, I'm very disconnected. Hundreds of people, every time someone sees me, they tell me, I can't reach you here. I've tried to DM you and you don't answer. And that's literally, I'm sorry, I do that. I don't know why. I just tend to like face-to-face interaction far more. I still have the same love for everybody. It's no different, but I just... The face-to-face is much more important to me than the screen-to-screen and keeping up with everyone else's story. I have my own story and my friend's story that are literally in my life that I need to pay attention to and should pay attention to. I would rather spend the time focusing on what's in front of me than outside of me as far as social media goes. But as far as the people that I watch, it's really just me and the people that are around here. I stick to... Every once in a while, I'll scroll through Instagram after I post and I'll see people's stuff, and seeing that is really cool. And I definitely watch all the Kojo Trick Lab things where it's Malcolm going over all the clips and stuff. Like I try and keep in touch, but I'm not the biggest to keep in touch. I tend to just watch over the community as if I'm not really a part of it. I watch it like my father does probably. I watch it like,
from the outside.
That's cool. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool, man. That is, and to be very honest with you, it's not the first time I've had someone say that answer where they kind of just stay removed from stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, not incorrect. Yeah. So I'm curious about your answer on this one, and it's something that maybe is just wishful thinking in my own personal mind, and that's why I want to talk about it with you. Is in parkour, and from someone that started in parkour like yourself, maybe you will see what I'm talking about. I have seen a complete revolution in style, where back in the days, parkour was all about doing the biggest front flips off of gaps, the wildest drops, jumping the biggest roof gaps. And while that still exists in today's culture with guys like Dom Tomato and Storer, there has also been a revolution where guys are now respected for their style and doing stuff like Pasha the Boss, where he's doing stuff where he's doing, illusion rolls on the ground and not even delving into the flip culture, if that makes sense. Or moves like the new Cork Zero that have been popularized by, Josh Mellon and everyone else, Bob Reese. I personally have seen parkour go from the big tricks to a more stylized base movement. Do you think we'll ever get there with tricking?
It's funny you say that, because I watched a Jimmy the Giant video. Another shout out. I'm throwing those all out there, but another shout out.
Jimmy and I are big fans and supporters of each other. I help him connect him with people all the time, so shout him out all you want, bro. He's dope. Yeah.
I was watching one of his videos though that talked about that exact thing, like the transition of parkour and free running and all the different styles that happened. And when I was watching that video, it's hard to not relate it to tricking because it's very similar. And when you think about it, it's, for me, from my perspective, when you say the big tricks, like the big drops and the big front flips and things like that, the big jumps from parkour back in the days, I don't know if I look at that as power, in the sense of Guthrie being power in tricking, I view that as like pizzazz. I view the big jumps from rooftop to rooftop and big front flip off of stuff. I view that as like a cultural pizzazz where you're doing a sport and you don't really realize it, but the things you're choosing to do are specifically made to draw in the eyes of others that are outside of what you're doing. So I think tricking did go through that as well around the same time period, I'd say, because I really think when XMA tricking, when extreme martial arts and all the backstory of tricking, when that was the thing, I really think that it was focused on pizzazz. It was cleanliness and pizzazz. What you could do to show off, like, yes, I could do a side swipe and now here's a punch. And that was clean, you know? And as far as parkour went, it's a big front flip, so it's pizzazz, but the landing, as we know now, is not really clean. It was just being done, but it was eye-catching. And then parkour went through the stage of finding itself and finding better ways of landing and all the different things that it went through. And I feel like that was the transition of realizing that they don't need to be doing things for that same grab anymore. They can do things that are creative and less on the body. They could do things that feel good for themselves physically and mentally instead of just mentally, you know? And I really think that tricking started to go through that as well, where we started to have a little creative phase and that's to happen. But I think tricking went through the pizzazz and cleanliness to the Guthrie. And then there's the whole thing of like, Guthrie does power, but his kicks aren't good, so make those clean. But then he's like, who cares? And then he cleans them up anyway, and then it doesn't really matter that he cleaned them up. We're glad he did, but it doesn't really matter because culturally speaking, it doesn't really matter. He's just doing flips. He's doing his thing. So it doesn't really matter. But he did it to appeal to the people that wanted it to be the way that the step before him was, you know? So I think that we do have those waves where it goes from like pizzazz and cleanliness to power to creativity back to power, and it goes all over that spectrum. But I feel like parkour has done the same. I feel like we're on a similar wave. We might have different starting points where ours is pizzazz and cleanliness, but theirs is just pizzazz and kind of just doing it to love it. You know, as the same where we're doing it to love it, but yeah.
100%. No, that makes sense, dude. And I think, like I said, I hope it's probably just wishful thinking on my part from being someone that respects style. And obviously I respect power more than anything, because if we didn't have those groundbreaking moves, the sport wouldn't move forward. But yeah, it would be nice to see a little bit of different combo choices and irregularities and getting away from a lot of generic cookie cutter stuff that we see a lot of times.
Well, when you watch, like when it goes to kind of say again well, yeah, I'm just saying it. When you watch Nico Flow, you watch tricks and you watch a tricking combo happen with things in between. Yes. And when I watch that, I see that, or when I watch James West or James East, North Southwest James guy. When you watch that, you see power in tricking, but you see it on concrete, which makes it even more powerful. If you're a tricker and you do cart triple on concrete, you got a cart triple. You got it.
Lock. Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So when you see parkourists do that in the middle of a line, or they do a cork in, that when they do swing cork in, and it's a precision off of something, James, what? Like, that's power. Yeah. And then when you see Nico Flow do cork shuriken cutter after a wall wrap full or something, that's power. Yes. That's what I see as power. You're able to generate power in one motion instead of using momentum and then having to use power to save yourself from that drop. You know, when I see parkour, that's why I see that as pizzazz and that as power. It's one thing is you're creating the entire thing. The other is you're using an obstacle, but you need power in order to survive that obstacle.
Okay.
You know, but then when it comes to tricking, I feel like we're still kind of in that power phase for sure. I think that I've dropped a little drops throughout there, and I've steered some directions maybe, but I think we're still in the power phase.
Yeah, which isn't a bad thing by any means. I'm very stoked to see all the groundbreaking stuff. Shosei's making moves up that I never thought would be invented at this day and age in tricking. You know, I thought we had come up with a lot of moves, and clearly there's more. So
I mean, that's the thing too. When you watch like a full D-leg, I personally have been doing those on trampoline for years. and they are really easy in comparison to other power moves. That's not, in my eyes, a power move. That, in my eyes, is a stylish move. Okay. And even when you watch like his double aerial, where it's aerial heli hyper.
Hyper, yeah.
Yeah, like that's a power move. If you were to ever say back in the early 2000s, 2012s, like double aerial, you're gonna do a double aerial tonight
on the flat ground, yeah.
Yeah, like there's no way. You need way more power than you can even physically do. Totally. So there's not a chance, you know? But if you find the right style to do it, you can make it work.
100, bro. 100. Well, along the lines of that, like clearly we've talked about where you've come from and where the sports come from and where it's going. Just curious about your answer on this, because this is the one that I always ask everyone, and it has to relate to your own personal journey. So where do you see yourself in 5 years from now? And then where are you seeing yourself 10 years from now?
So, good thing this was asked, because I knew it was coming.
Yes, I was like, luckily people at this point have known this is going to come up eventually.
Yeah. Andrew Court and I, all day, we've been talking about the fact that I have to do this. And he's like, so what's your 5 year? What's your 10 year? Like, yes. We're just going back and forth. Honestly, it's hard to say the 10 year. The 10 year is really hard. I'll be 32. Mm-hmm. I could have a kid. I could be in a school. You know?
Yeah.
The only thing I could really say about 10 year kind of extends off the 5 year. So my 5 year plan, in 5 years, I know that I want to go to Junk Tramp. I want to mess around with them for a while. Okay. I want to go to Jacob Jonas' company. I don't know if you know the dance company.
But totally know them, bro.
Yeah. Nice. So I want to do something with them. And then I want to go, I've talked to Bellew and Alex D quite a lot, and I really would like to work with either one of them for their performance teams, Velusta or Skillas. Either one of those would be a dream. So if I'm doing either one of those things, I eventually personally just want to move to Japan. So living in Japan for a while for my own martial experience and latching that chain together, that would feel really good for myself. As far as 5 years goes, it'll just be that process, and then definitely planning of a bigger idea, which I like almost don't want to throw it out there, but I'm going to throw it out there.
You don't have to. Don't feel forced to.
Yeah. It's a good idea, though. I don't think it's something that I need to personally hold on to. I think the more of them there are, the better, because I watched a documentary about a skate school somewhere. Mm-hmm. I don't remember where, if it's in America or a different country, but it's a high school that a skater is the principal of.
Yeah.
So, like everyone in the school that's running the school is a skater, and they do all these things for the skaters, and they have a gym class that is skating. So they go to the school to progress in skating, be surrounded by skaters, be in their culture and thrive off of their passions, but also go to school.
Yes.
And for me, I've always hated school. I was one of the worst kids in school. So for me, imagining myself as a principal of a school is so far off track. But if I'm creating a school where I know that I would have wanted to go to it, I feel much more confident being a president of that school or a principal of that school. Totally. So I think in the next 5 years, I'll be planning that. I'll be planning how I do that. I would much rather open up a high school where I can educate kids on whatever they need to be educated on, while also keeping them closely knitted to their community and keeping them on course with their lives, really. I don't want to be a father, but like to them at least, you know, but I want to steer the future and be able to do that as long as I can. So by the time I retire, when I'm 60, 70, I worked at a school and worked in the community, growing the community that entire time. I think that would be really good.
Man, that's dope. We'll definitely have to keep in touch and stuff in regards to that. It's something that as I get inherently older, and obviously I have platforms like Jam where I can help influence the youth, I've actually thought about doing something similar, not from a tricking perspective, but just in general, just to help kids. I feel like the stuff we learn in school is okay, but it's like we really should be learning so many other life lessons, like, hey, how to invest in stocks. Oh, hey, you're going to have to pay taxes when you get a job and become an adult. And so these are the types of things that I think should be taught in like lower education. And so, yeah, there's an inkling within my heart that wants to have an impact too on some kids. So.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you about that, definitely. Like, if anybody to talk to about it, it's you. So, fun thing to throw out there. You are a man of productivity. Every time I've heard you in a conversation, it's always that you're just all over. You're doing things constantly. I messaged you about this, and you're like, so tomorrow? Can you do it tomorrow? Like, you're so on top of things. I want to... When is the Travis podcast coming out? When do we get to hear the story of you?
Bro, you know what is very funny? I've been getting requested a lot, and I've been holding off for quite some time. We are about to embark on, within 2 months, episode 150, and it may time out around my birthday. I'm not promising it, but that may be maybe the first episode, because as I get older, I do want to share parts of my story, because we get little inklings from people, you know, but...
Yeah, you got a good story. I'm telling you, from all the conversations I've heard, I know you got a good story.
I do, and then I have the JAMCast After Dark story, which I gotta wait for my parents to not be around or be senile before I can release that episode. But we'll make it happen, dog. I would love to do it just because people like yourself are saying so.
Yeah, you got a good story.
Dude,
that's a fact.
Appreciate it. I appreciate it, bro. Man, so, you know, with that being said, man, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this. You know, just a fun fact for you. Obviously, I've watched you over the last few years, and we've kept in touch via social media and stuff like that. But I remember you all the way back to when you had your first UTL jersey. I remember the Jordon Alexander jerseys and stuff like that, man. So I've been a longtime follower of your movement, and it's cool to finally sit and have a formal conversation about your backstory and where you've come from.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's good to have this conversation, because I know that you've been following me for a bit. There's been times throughout my story where it's like, I just bought a Jam shirt, and my mom's like, yeah, I just talked to Travis, and I'm like, what?
It's crazy. And then every time we've been at a gathering and we're like, yo, we're going to train together, I've been hurt or you've been hurt or we're both hurt, and we never session together, but one of these days it's going to happen. So
Definitely. I was meaning to ask you, actually, because Andrew and I were debating on this, because you asking everybody the 5-year and 10-year question. Yes. Are you planning to do a podcast with everybody after 5/10 years?
Potentially, my friend. Yeah. So my goal is, when I first started the JAMCast, I thought I would do maybe 20 episodes, 25 episodes. You are number 142. And with that being said, man, as long as I'm having fun doing these, I'm going to keep doing them. Like, I don't do these for money. I'm not doing these for any reason other than the chance to connect with people like yourself, hopefully inspire future generations. And more so after the passing of Hans Wickling, these became so inherently important to me in the community, from the sense that, like, we need to have people's stories on here for the rest of time, you know?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
I think that's a very good thing. That's because I personally have seen that same value, and I have only done 2 podcasts, but one of them was with Andrew Court and the other was with Moreheart, because they're 2 people that I know have decent stories that I believe should be written down somewhere.
100%, man. Yeah. And so, like I said, as long as I'm still having fun, as long as I'm still breathing and we're still doing this, nothing would be cooler than to bring someone back on 5 years from now. I have already had someone that was on in the first season, and I brought him back 2 years later, and they already accomplished everything on their 2-year list. So the coolest thing for me would be, like we said, 5 years from now, I sit down with you, I'm sitting down with Andrew, I'm sitting down with everyone that's been in that chair, and see what happened, you know?
Yeah, because that's life, but it's written down. That's the perfect way.
It's crazy.
It's a good way to inspire others, and they just keep the boat rowing.
100. One of the most recent examples that I'll end this with, just to kind of show you how amazing this experience has been for myself as a host of this, is I interviewed a young up-and-coming parkour girl that I just saw a lot of potential in, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, by the name of Nora Dorgina Mann. She was so young, she wasn't even allowed to compete at the Red Bull competitions at all. You know, she was too young. Just this last year, she just won the Red Bull Art of Motion and became a sponsored athlete by Red Bull. And I was able to message her and be like, remember when we talked about your goal of being a Red Bull athlete? You've made it happen in 2 years. And she was so stoked. So,
that's a good feeling. That is a good feeling. Props.
So surreal, dog. Like, to just be a part of the story and to know that that was a goal of hers and to see it transpire, it's like, man, That is what these are meant for, you know, to inspire future generations and hopefully inspire myself. You know what I'm saying? So.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's what connections are all about. It's inspiring yourself and getting yourself closer to yourself.
Bro, it's amazing, dog. So, yo, with that being said, man, before we get out of here, can you just let people know where they can continue to stay up to date with your personal journey and follow your recovery and everything you got planned for the future you've been dropping dimes with here?
Absolutely. So you could follow me on Instagram. It's my first name, .alex.m, Jordon, Jordon, like on off. And then you could go on YouTube. You could just type in Jordon Alexander tricking. I guarantee it'll pop up after that. And if you want to stay tuned for hopefully the next type of Garrison energy, then go to gren.house on Instagram. It's just GREN.HAUS. That's me, Andrew Court, Ethan Turner, Quentin Saul, and Ryan. We're going to be making some fun stuff, so that'll be a good spot to keep up, definitely.
Hell yeah. Guys, please be sure to head on over to his personal pages. Check out the new Greenhouse page. And with that being said, please be sure to hit that like button, comment, subscribe for brand new episodes each and every week. Join us every Monday for Jam Breakdowns and every Friday for brand new JAMCast, interviewing influential members of the movie community like Mr. Jordon Alexander himself. So with that being said, guys, I got to give one more very special shout out. Thanks for coming through, homie. I really appreciate you making this happen finally.
Hey, thank you. It's good to talk to you. You're going to be one of those people just like Adam Davenport in my life, for sure.
So much more to happen in the future, and I can't wait to see what happens, bro.
Definitely.
Hell yeah. And as always, guys, coming through, I'm your host, Travis Wong. Thanks for joining us here on another JAMCast. Until next time, we'll see you all soon.
Bye.
Peace.